Some of these drones are dark thoracic-haired. I'm feeding them sugar syrup, and that's why there's comb there that got stuck in the lid. I mean, in the hive feeder. This was a swarm back in late April when there was the first comb production that I noticed in our colonies. It's just moderate amount. It's a poor nectar season. So there's only a little, but I think they're getting a little bit of nectar. It's still like a dearth this June. There's sourwood blooming and clover, dandelion, and it's been cool and plenty rain. There was plenty of rain. There's like 4 swarms this year here in central North Carolina. They are the dearth's not very severe, so I think they're keeping their drones. It might be the sugar syrup, but during the more severe part of the dearth, they'll shut down drones or not produce any drones, even with sugar syrup. So this suggests there is a nectar flow that is very weak. It's not a full, it's not a severe dearth during the first part. I didn't notice this till recently, that there's a variation in the dearth. There's some parts of the dearth, like in July or August, was more severe. They won't produce drones with the sugar syrup feeding, and they're more easily stressed. If you open the lid up, you can stress the colony. But if it's not a severe dearth, they can handle some disturbances. And then last year in the fall, they started producing drones with sugar syrup feeding by I guess October, and they started taking sugar syrup much better with yes, Dad? Okay. With the Spanish needle blooming in the fall. Some goldenrod, but I don't know if the goldenrod actually contributes much here. Except if you go up north a bit, the fall nectar flows a bit better. It's still like a dearth. It just alleviates the dearth. Like now, it's not a terrible dearth right now in June. The bees are a bit more active. You can see them fanning. That's the way in the mountains, I think, that during the summer, that they don't really get a dearth, they get like a lull. This might be similar to that. It's not an actual severe dearth. So I had bees up there, had hardly any honey or no honey. They survived and made it through the summer there in the mountains, and they were not good at foraging in the mountains either. So that meant that there's a nectar flow there. During the fall, when we came to the mountains, there was like a dearth. They started robbing out the colonies that were weak or dead. I noticed. That's what it says in the bee books. The fall, bees start to shut down, and that doesn't happen here in North Carolina. This central North Carolina, they start getting some relief in the fall from the summer dearth. So it's a good time. It's the time that bees do better than the summer. They get a little more nectar, and through the winter too, a little bit of nectar. I think they get a little, at least some parts of the winter. Red maples are blooming. They get a little bit. So, yeah, with a mild dearth, they'll take sugar syrup better. It helps, and the nectar flow, that's the best time to feed sugar syrup. They take it readily, even if it's a weak nectar flow, with no comb production. They'll take sugar syrup a lot better. It's better to try to get all your feeding done before the nectar flow is over. That's another swarm that happened in May when there was hardly, it was like a dearth. But I put honey frames in there. It might have even been, it was a tiny swarm. It might have been like an absconding swarm. It had lighter bees, lighter colored drones, which is unusual here. The drones are not usually that colored. They're usually dark colored, even if the bees are light colored. So the drones would be black usually, but this has a little bit of light color on the drones. There's another drone in there. Yes, it might be that this year's better than the previous years because it's so cool. This summer dearth is not terrible. And when you're feeding during summer dearth, you have to be careful not to feed them too much. They're inactive, and they won't take it, and then they'll get sick because the humidity, the sugar syrup causes in the hive. They'll abscond the hive. You have to give a couple weeks in between feedings. I found that out with the hives that are far away, out apiaries, like 20 miles out or 15 miles out. I wouldn't feed them very often. They did a lot better. That's because I didn't feed them as often in the summer dearth. I was trying to get as much sugar syrup into the colony as quickly as I could, but they can, especially the first part of the dearth, you don't have to feed them till they're honey bound. They can handle the milder dearth without being honey bound in June. It's better to get your feeding done before that, but they'll survive. I mean, you can, like this one right here, I'm going to try and feed them, but they have honey frames that is keeping them alive. Yeah, so moderation is the key to when you're feeding sugar syrup during the dearth. During the nectar flow, you can get maybe within 3 weeks get all the honey they need for the year, or the sugar syrup feeding with thick sugar syrup. They'll drink it so fast and rapidly that they can get it all done. I had that one colony do that this year, I think, in late April. They drank rapidly, like gallons and gallons, within the 3 or 4 weeks, till they were honey bound. I didn't split that colony. I left it whole because it was such a poor nectar flow. No, actually, I did split it. I took out the queen with some small number of bees, not much, put it in the topper hive, and I fed that sugar syrup, that topper hive. Yeah, I did split them in half, or not in half. I took out a small number of bees with the queen, and they raised a new queen in the other colony. Yeah. All right.